Hi guys, and welcome back to All My Novel Ideas. This is Sharon. So I kind of fell into a bit of a slump. I haven't planned in my weeks since I think the second last week in October. Yeah. So I'm gonna catch up. When I do these kinds of catch-ups, I don't fill in things like that. It's just I usually put memories at the top if there's anything I wanted to journal about that happened, and then I just fill in any large-scale events I might want to remember. But it's sometimes there's nothing that I want to add in, and then you'll have a week that's like this, and that's okay. Usually when I fall into a planning slump or a mental health one, it's kind of just like I used to leave my planner open on my desk to like whatever the last week was, being like, you should work in this. But I found the last year or so what I do is I will just, if it's been sitting out for over a week and a bit and I haven't touched it, just close it up and I'll just put it away until I'm ready again, because it feels like there's more pressure if it's just sitting there open and I'm not touching it, and then you get into the guilt spiral, and which is fine. But there's nothing wrong with falling into a slump and not having the energy to plan. This predominantly, like it is used for my day-to-day, but it's really meant to be memory keeper supplement in the sense that I'm doing like day-to-day tasks and stuff in it, and like long week a week overview. But it is used like to see how my month turns out so that I can then journal about any important days in my A6. So yeah, it's always kind of hard to get started again, but I figure, you know what, it's been like a month at this point, so let's do it. So the first thing I do is I need to look at my calendar. I need to look at Google Calendar, because what I always fall into at some point during the year, a time when I don't want to plan. So I had started doing this in 2021 maybe, where I make myself put events as they happen into my calendar, so that if I do want to go back and backfill in things, I do have it written down somewhere. So how has your November been? We're starting to decorate my house now because we always do it on the week of American Thanksgiving. It's just kind of the thing we've been doing for a year, and then for like years. And then we often end up taking it all down I think it's been coming down on like New Year's Day lately. But I always like this time of year because the lights are so pretty. I mean, I think a lot of people like the lights. And today I've seen my first flurries. So that's kind of exciting if you like snow. I think the first couple of weeks of snow was like pretty, and then it's like peak January, February, and everyone's kind of like, yeah, I could do without this. I usually just count 3 boxes from either side to be my header. Sorry. Very not centered, but it is what it is. And then these are just brief journal entries that I do. Hi guys, welcome to the voiceover. So when I filmed this video, I was sick. I'm still kind of sick, but I just sounded really low energy when I was talking, and then I found I wasn't really talking for a lot of parts because I was having real difficulty multitasking that day. Trying to think about what I was trying to journal about and then also talk at the same time was just not working. So we're gonna switch to a voiceover now, because why not? So what I had been talking about when I was doing it was just general things that have been happening. So I was saying that I didn't really have a lot of key events that happened. So I had some weeks that were quite low in terms of things I did, and then some weeks where there were more events to mark. When I back plan like this, it's not all about like trying to replicate exactly what I did. I'm just trying to memorize. I'm just trying to remember the moments that kind of happened that I can, and if I can't remember anything, then that's fine too. So yeah. But I was also talking about the different videos I've been watching lately. So I had been watching a lot of Stephanie Sue, like Rotten Mango videos. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought Stephanie used to do more videos than just mukbangs. But when I was like trying to remember what she used to do on YouTube, and I went back to the oldest video on her channel, it was only like from 4 years ago, and I'm like, I swear she was making videos way before that. Someone had posted the Burning Sun video
So I was watching that, and then I was watching a bunch of her other like scandal videos. I can't really do with the ones where people die. So I was I've been watching the ones lately where she's talking about like the different socialites dramas. Like yesterday I watched the one on the ex Samsung CEO, the like ex-wife, and how she's dating. Oh, I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but he was the lead in Squid Game. But he's like a famous actor in Korea, and that was really fun. I like reading a lot of those like pop culture based things, so it's always interesting to hear different pop culture gossip from other places because it just shows how alike everyone is. I don't know if you guys watch Rachel in Theory, but she did a video maybe last week, maybe 2 weeks ago now, on consumption in the planner sphere. And I thought it was really well done. It was talking about how you shouldn't feel like ashamed for spending money. And I'm a big, and I agree with that, where it's like, if you have the funds to spend and it's not going to hurt you, then you shouldn't feel ashamed for buying things that you love. Me personally, I just know that I don't want to keep buying stuff. Hence why I've been on a no buy for stationery, because I would rather use up what I have and then decide if I want to buy anything more from that. Because it's gotten to the point where it's just like, oh, I have too much stuff and it stresses me out. But yeah, I thought her video was really good and kind of going over the FOMO people can have. Personally, I don't have FOMO like that. Not saying I've never experienced it, it's just when it comes to planning stuff, I don't tend to get it because I've already gone through that stage. Like, I see a lot of people with the Common Planner by Sterling Inc. And I guess people had FOMO this past year. I think 2023 was the first year she made one, right? So then 2024 was like the next release, and I saw a lot of people complaining that they had to buy early because they were worried that they were going to miss out. And now people have like too many planners and they're like, what do I do with everything? For me, I already know I like the Hobonichi, and I'm quite loyal to a product once I find something that I like, because I kind of would rather just keep my archives in the same format as long as I can. But the Common Planner is very nice. I just would have no purpose for it. But I know like Rachel, she bought a bunch of them and like a take note, and that's like, I don't know if YouTube's her main job now. But that's like kind of part of the thing, right? When you become influencers, you kind of also have to see what the products are to influence. And I'm sure that leads to a lot of issues, because then you're like, oh, I have to show my audience the different products so that they get the best possible. What am I trying to say? In the makeup sphere, right? They don't have to, but they try all these products so that they can recommend the best possible option in, say, the blush category to the people who watch them. So I think that applies the same to like planners. Is as an influencer, they're trying a bunch of these different planners because they want to know the options, so that if someone asks a question, they can offer suggestions and tell them, well, this is how this worked for me, or this is how it didn't work for me. But I do think all of that does play into the overconsumption, because I kind of look at the planner or stationery industry in a way that I look at the beauty industry, that the stationery one is a hot industry right now. Like, there's a lot of products coming out. We're seeing a lot of indie shops get bigger. And it's fun, right? I think we're seeing a return to traditional mediums of people are buying more CDs, people are buying DVDs. They like want physical uh, inputs. So writing on paper works a lot better for some than inputting on calendar. And I think there's also just beauty and imperfection. So you're seeing people, we're seeing an influx of people buying like digital cameras again because people want to take photos and not not have them as perfect as they'd be on like an iPhone or Google or Samsung, where they now like use AI to perfect like images, right? And I think currently the planner industry is like going through what the beauty one was going through in about 2016, where everything was getting really hot and it was just on a boom. And when you're in that and you keep seeing all the new planners, you're like, oh man, I really want that. Or it's always better, the grass is always greener on the other side. And I'm saying this as someone who like definitely has bought things like from the beauty sphere that I was influenced to buy, and then I'm like, oh, this didn't even work for me. So I do think you kind of have to go through that FOMO to understand like, okay, I don't need to buy everything. Me knowing that the Hobonichi works and the common planner one is because I know how I plan and how I memory keep. And to be honest, for me, the common planner is just too pretty. It would stress me out. I'm not a huge fan of black lettering. I don't know why. It's just my brain functions better in the colorful Hobonichi than it did in like the English Hobonichi, which was just in black and red. And these are just like quirks for me. Obviously not for everyone, but I think because I've tried a bunch of different planners, like I've had school agendas, then I had ones you bought from Staples. I've used a Moleskine. I was bullet journaling in Leuchtturm. I had an Erin Condren at one point. I had a Happy Planner. All before I eventually settled on a Hobonichi Ace Techo in the A6 size, and then bought a Weeks in 2022. Like I've explored, so I don't need to explore anymore. But I think for people who are coming back to paper planning or are enjoying keeping memories on paper, there's a lot of options, and it's hard to know what works for you if you haven't been paper planning for years. And then I also think like, I also used rings at one point too. I also think it's fun to move around sometimes. If you aren't like me where you want all of your archives to be same size, then you're not as limited. Like you can kind of explore more, and there's nothing wrong with exploring. So yeah, I highly recommend the video if you currently are suffering from feeling like you're over consuming stationery stuff. I'll link it below. It was really good. She has a lot of good insights. I like how she talks about different ways to plan. So yeah, if you haven't seen her videos, I recommend her. Otherwise, I've been watching a lot of Smosh, which is so weird because I honestly hadn't watched Smosh since like 2013, and then I watched the video when Anthony left. But because he, like, I guess if you don't know, well, I would assume you know who Smosh is, but if you don't, Anthony and Ian are like OG YouTubers. They were huge back in the day. Smosh is now more it's more than just a channel, it's like an entertainment company. But Anthony left in, I think, 2016, 2017. But he came back earlier this year, I think June. And I guess I just started getting a bunch of Smosh videos recommended lately. So I was like watching a bunch of the funerals, and yeah, I've just been really enjoying Smosh videos, and I honestly never thought I would watch them again. But I think that's kind of funny where it shows the circular nature where sometimes you're into things and then you leave a niche and then you find it again later on. You're like, oh, yeah, I still enjoy this. I don't know if has that ever happened to any of you? Have any of you watched Smosh before? But yeah, I think we're going to go back to the video now. I assume I have more things to say. So I'll talk to you in a bit on another voiceover. Alright, bye.
Sorry if the lighting's changed. I went and had dinner, and since then the sun's gone down. Not that it was pretty gray today, not that it was really up to begin with. So you can see here was a random week. Was this last week? This is last week. I was like, okay, let's get back into it, and then I just didn't do anything. And this was actually a pretty quiet week. I really didn't do much that I need to mark. You'll note when I do, when I have like workouts, I do mark them in. I also keep track of it up here in my fitness section. But it's kind of like giving yourself a gold star. It's like, oh, you know, if you work out today, you get a sticker. A little incentive, I guess. I literally think that might, oh, I have something here. I helped my sister practice her presentation she had to give for class. Just need to note that down. Oh, we're getting pretty empty. Yep, that's it. I don't really have any memories to write for last week, so I'll leave that blank. Just let this dry, but I was gonna say it's fine when you have nothing to write. I have a couple, let's see. I've had a couple times this year where I just didn't do anything. Like I couldn't be bothered to plan. Just going through slumps. Like here, this was a backfill. As you can see, this usually means a backfill because I didn't keep track of anything for that week, but I had nothing to write. That's okay. You can see most of March was a bit of a slump. Then got back into the swing of things in April. And then I had another one May, June. At the end of April into May. Completely blank week. Another blank week. That's actually pretty good. I only have 2 completely blank weeks this year. Last year I had a number, like I think whole month's end, I wasn't really able to back plan any events because I was only keeping track of large ones on Google, whereas now I've started keeping track of like even minor ones, so that when an inevitable slump happens, and for me they do, and I know it would be better to push through and write, but sometimes I think it's just healthier to be like, that's okay. You don't have the energy to do that, so that's fine. If it alleviates the stress to remove planning, then remove it. Sometimes all I need is to just write a to-do list, whether it be on my phone or just on a scrap piece of paper, and I do that. I'm not gonna force myself when I can't make something work for me at the time, but I do like to try and back plan. Like this was pretty good because it wasn't too far back. I was able to write certain general memories down. But if it had been that week, I might have written more. Like there might have been little moments I would have preferred to jot down. But sometimes you're meant to forget things too, and that's acceptable. So now I think we're on the current week, and it is Friday. So I could set this up because certain things I track I would remember. Okay, let's set it up. I think, yeah. So there's, if you're wondering how I break down weeks, as you can see, there's one more week of December. I go with whatever part of the month has more days. So there was 4 days here for November and only 3 for December. Whereas at the beginning of this month, going from October into November, there's only 2 days of October, but 5 of November, so it was the color of November. Whoops. That was a mistake. I don't really worry about keeping this planner too pristine. It's meant to be for working, so it doesn't bother me. But I know some people really would prefer if they were able to get whiteout in the color of the cream Hobonichi because they want it to stay pristine. Yeah, this is 346, if anyone was wondering. The orange was 905 from way back.
Hello, it's voiceover Sharon again. So this will be I guess I'm going to talk about Christmas. I put up my tree in my room today. It's very nice, and I I don't actually have ornaments for it. All I have is garland. It's like a opal bead garland. It looks nice, but I can't. It's one of those like 4 feet tall trees, so it's not that tall. But I can't seem to find ornaments that I like, so it just sits with garland on it. And I'm like, man, I need to get some ornaments. But I can't find any that are like mini size that I really, really like. So I'm thinking of maybe knitting some, because my mom asked me to knit her a tree skirt. And so I'm going to knit me one first to see, just to get the sizing right. And I was like going through my wool stash because I didn't want to buy any new wool until I know how many skins I would need. And I found this old Christmas pattern book that I was given years ago. And in it there was like these cute little ornaments that like patterns for knitting them. And I'm like, oh, those could be cute on it, because they had like a little stocking and a little Fair Isle sweater. So I kind of think that would fit the vibe I'm going for in my room. But I don't know. I've also never knitted an ornament before. I'm not sure how hard they are. My sister's been crocheting like ornaments, and they look really good. She got into crocheting through Woobles. I'm assuming people will know what they are. I didn't, but so she got into them through Woobles, and like she's been knitting. She's been crocheting a lot of really cool items. And it's made me be like, oh, I should get back into knitting again. Like, I always like it. It's kind of a nice task to keep your hands busy while you're just watching things. And it's probably a bit better for my mental state than playing games on my phone. I've been playing Parking Jam a lot lately, and I'm on like a level 1200. So I only downloaded it again back in October. So, we're not doing too hot. But yeah, other than that, I really don't have much to talk about. I could talk about like army things. The remaining 4 members of BTS are going to enter their enlistment soon, because they announced they had started the enlistment process, and I think that contributed to my slump mood, where I was just really low energy, because anyone who's army would know it kind of sucks. I mean, anyone who's a fan of an artist that has to go to enlistment would understand. But yeah, other than that, I watched Yet to Come multiple times in the last month because just feel good. Only cried twice. Yeah, I don't know what else, if I did anything else this month. December's looking good. It snowed here the other day, and the snow stayed on the ground for like 8 hours, but it melted by the next day. And now it's just very rainy. And I wish it would determine if it was going to be like hot or cold, because I still need to transition into my winter wardrobe, but it's not been cold enough that I really need to do it. That's kind of stressing me out, because I get quite warm easily and I hate overheating. So I would like the weather to decide what it's gonna do. Yeah, I guess that's the end of this voiceover. Bye.
So I have some more memories I want to write, and when I fill up the section on a specific week, I flip to my journal tab. I don't know if you can see at the top there. And this is where I do overflow weekly memories. So all I do is I'll just put in whatever week it is. Oh, that's the wrong page. Oh, no, sorry. This is weekly, yeah. So what I do is I put in the week and I color code it to the month. I write what week it was, and then I just continue writing. If you're wondering what this is just favorite things I watched this week. It's the exact same format except different titles, but this is specifically to, generally it's YouTube videos, just because I watch a lot of YouTube, and it's kind of hard to track. It's not like Netflix or whatever, like, oh, you watched so many episodes, and sometimes they really stand out to me, so I'm like, oh, I kind of want to rewatch that. It is week 47. November 20th. And then the specific day I'm writing about is the 22nd. Yeah, and then you just keep going. Okay, so we just have next week, which I will do Sunday probably. I would do it now. I'm just thinking maybe I should switch up this portion. Sometimes when I get into a slump, I'll do that also, just because it's like maybe the things I'm tracking aren't making me use this. Sometimes I do just go back to just having it as memories. I'm like, okay, let's go back to simple. Like maybe we don't need that. Otherwise, I would set it up in front of you guys. But yeah. So that's it. Look at, this is getting a bit chunky. I can feel that it's like harder in areas now with all stickers. So thanks for joining me as I back planned parts of October, I guess, and all of November. I think it's important to note that it's okay to go through slumps, and don't pressure yourself to use something if it's more effort than not using it. I think sometimes it's good to persevere and try, but I know for me, I hit a certain wall sometimes, and it's like the energy that I would need to use it is just not worth it, and it's healthier for me to just put it to the side, kind of reset, and then come back when it's time. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you have a good week. I hope if you're looking forward to the holidays, I hope everything's going well. And if it's not going well, that's okay. I hope it gets better. Keep going. You can do it. And yeah. Thank you everyone for joining. Have a good day, a good night, a good week. Talk to you later. Bye.